When asked where I am from, I can't answer with a city name because there aren't any, nor do I answer with my town name. Instead, I answer with the Eastern Shore of Virginia. Still, many people do not understand where I am referring to in Virginia. The Eastern Shore is part of the Delmarva Peninsula, which is made of Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, which is located on the south end. The location of where I was born and raised made a large impact on where I am today and where I see myself in the future. I was privileged enough to have grown up with the Chesapeake Bay about 2 miles to the west and the Atlantic Ocean about 8 miles to the east of my house. The Eastern Shore is known as an area that if you don't work in agriculture, then you work on the water, either growing clams, oysters, and scallops, or fishing and crabbing, testing the water clarity, or even doing scientific research. Ever since I can remember, my family and I would go out on the boat every weekend to either go to the beach or go fishing. I was taught at a young age to care for the environment that is around us. My concern for the importance of species conservation began in high school and only grew larger through the years thanks to my education. My father shared his love of the outdoors with me, and after he passed away before my sophomore year of high school, I decided that I wanted to follow in his footsteps. The memories I had with him and all that he taught me influenced my decision to major in wildlife and fisheries biology at Clemson University, which was his alma mater. The summers after freshman and sophomore year of college, I interned at the Virginia Institute of Marine Science Eastern Shore Laboratory. There, my interest for research in aquaculture increased because it helped with a PhD student that was doing shark research and a different research that was focusing on the reintroduction of bay scallops back into a bay located between Virginia's barrier islands in the Atlantic Ocean. The summer after junior year, I gained more experience with aquaculture by interning at a local clam and oyster aqua farm company. These experiences have increased my interest in an aquaculture career. I now plan on graduating Clemson, taking a year or so off to study for my GRE and gain more experience, and then hopefully go to graduate school to study aquaculture or do research on a specific species of fish or shellfish. I eventually want to become a manager of a hatchery or a researcher at a marine laboratory. This class is an important part of my college curriculum because it will teach me to write technically by making sure my reader understands the one interpretation of my writing. I have a hard time writing lab reports because I elaborate too much, which can cause the report to be too wordy and confusing. I want to be able to understand how to write without the need of telling a story, but to be able to write scientifically and technically, which includes creating a single interpretation of what I wrote for my audience. I also want to correctly learn how to write cover letters, resumes, and other professional documents to better prepare myself for my future. In many of my classes, I've had to write numerous lab reports in one term project that mimicked a peer-reviewed article. Many of the professors I've had prefer for their students to find peer-reviewed journal articles to use for research and papers. A previous boss, P.G. Ross, who is the senior marine scientist at Virginia Institute of Marine Science, made it very clear that technical documents have a large impact in the field of wildlife and fisheries. He mentioned that he used technical documents through his undergraduate and graduate degrees to help with organization and conciseness when writing his own documents and thesis. When asked what type of technical documents the employees at the Institute create, he mentioned peer-reviewed manuscripts for journals and articles in scientific magazines. The outline for a peer-reviewed journal document begins with a title, which is usually about the research, the author's names, and the institution they belong to. Second comes the abstract, which is a summary of the report that includes the problem studied, methods of the research, and a brief explanation of the results. Third is an optional keywords section. Fourth is the study area, or an introduction, which is used to describe the background of the species that is being studied, where the study is taking place, and why the research is being conducted. Fifth is the explanation of the steps taken for the research, which is given through the methods section. The sixth part of the outline includes the results section, which contains graphs and tables of data that was collected. The seventh part of the report is the discussion section, which interprets the findings from the research and why the data was found to be a certain way. After the discussion, management implications can be tied into the article depending if there is a need to manage a certain species, such as if the species is overabundant, then a harvest may need to take place. Lastly, most writers will have an acknowledgement section to mention all the companies and people who helped make the research possible, and a literature cited section to give credit to any outside research that helped the writer develop the article. In conclusion, technical writing is an important course for my future endeavors. It will help me through college in both my undergraduate and graduate degrees and in my professional career, no matter which direction of either aquaculture or fisheries research I choose.